Hare Krishna. This morning we will start with mantra 2. We heard till now the invocation. Invocation, we can say, it's a definition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the source of everything, and he's complete. So many complete units are coming from him, and still he remains complete. So that's spiritual mathematics. 1 minus 1 is 1. That's spiritual mathematics. That in the material world, if you give something away, you get rid of it. Yeah, this is, we will see today, this is not easy to understand by our brain, that's with a material brain trying to understand the absolute truth, it's not possible. Just not possible. Because we think in terms of logic. We have heard in the introduction the word pranamas, methods how to get knowledge. That in academic circles they call it hermeneutics, how we get knowledge. And in Nyaya, there are many methods to get knowledge described there, but there are 3 main categories. The first is called pratyaksha, sense perception. That we have 5 knowledge gathering senses and the mind, and we get information from that, and we build conclusions of that. Mostly the modern science is based on pratyaksha. They observe, they have an experiment, they conclude that. But then there's Anuman, is a second method, Anuman. Anuman is logic, that through reasoning coming to a conclusion. And we will speak about that today also, forms of Anuman and examples. But the third method to know the absolute truth, and that's the only method to know the absolute truth, is Sabda Brahman, transcendental sound vibration. What is spoken by the Supreme Lord, the Vedas, is transcendental. That and it's coming from beyond our sense perception. So we accept it as the absolute truth. Of course, it's not that we are not using logic, but you cannot use logic to establish something which is translogical, beyond logic. That's Krishna is not logic is not greater than Krishna. Logic is not our God, we will see. Krishna is the supreme, and it's translogical. It's beyond the reasoning. That's Sabda Brahman. These 3 are there. I will try to get the verse on the screen. I don't know. First to start the database, but then I have to stop this. Database. Yes, please.
So with logic, we never come to the absolute truth?
No, that's impossible. That's not possible. The logic of this world. Because you have logic, you have illogical, and you have translogical. So the logic and the illogical, that is in the material realm. And our body is made of material elements. With your brain, you cannot understand something transcendental. It's not possible. Therefore, transcendental knowledge is realized to the heart. Tene, Brahma, Hridaya, Adikavaye. That's how Brahma received the knowledge to the heart, the Vedas to the heart. That in the heart is a soul, and Krishna is also there. And it's a direct transfer. And if we make spiritual advancement, that direct transfer is also there. Krishna says, 10:10, Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam vacham pitabhukam dadami buddhyontam yenamam upayantita. If one serves me with a little love, dadami, I give buddhi yoga. This is transcendental intelligence. And how does he give that? Tesham evanakampatam amakana chamtama nasacham atma bhavastu kana tipana bhasvata. Krishna says, from within the heart, I, with the thoughts of knowledge, I destroy all the nations, the ignorance in the heart of the devotee. The covering, the material covering, he destroys. And then we get enlightened. Then we can start to understand. Yes?
So, Sapta Brahman, we receive through the mercy of Krishna.
Sapta Brahman, we here receive to the ear. That it is in the Bhagavatam 177, I think, by giving oral reception to this transcendental literature, that one becomes free from lamentation, illusion, and fear. That is the result of hearing this transcendental knowledge. But one must hear it with the right attitude. Like one must chant with the right attitude. Every morning we say Trinatapi Sesnina, Taravi Saisnina, Amana Malandana Kirtanyata. Sadari, one must be more humble than a straw in the street, and more tolerant than a tree, ready to give honor to all others and not asking honor for oneself. In that state, we can chant the holy names constantly, but that's not a complete attitude. It continues. Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavata Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavata Vachaisakavayi, Mama, Chamami, Chamamishvai, Bhavati, Bhakti, Ahaitukitvayi. Lord Chaitanya said, I don't want any women, no attraction to women, opposite sex. It's very important. That and then no wealth, no adoration, no followers. I don't even want liberation. I don't want even to get out of the suffering of the material. You just leave it up to Krishna. In that attitude, if you chant the holy name, then Krishna will. Because the Hare Krishna mantra is the essence of Sapta Brahman. That's anyway. Good. We are in the other books of Prabhupada. Yes, the Isopanisad mantra 2 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhavani Veha Karmani Chichi Visekshatam Sama Evam Tvainam Yate Tosti Evam Tvainam Yate Tosti Akarma Lipyate Nare Bhavan doing continuously Eva thus Iha during the span of life Karmani work Chijiv is said once you desire to live Satam 100 Sama years Evam so living Tvai unto you Na no Anyata alternative Itaha from this path Asti there is Na not Karma work Lipyate can be bound Nare unto man. Translation. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So we have here in the Isopanisad, it gives us the essence right from the beginning. There is the Supreme Lord who is the complete whole. That's the first. And then the Supreme Lord is the owner of everything. The Isavasya principle. Isavasya principle. God is the owner, and we have right only to our quota. Our quota, we explained yesterday. So how do you know what's your quota? Yes.
But what comes easily and we don't have to endeavor for it.
Yeah, that's allotted by your karma. That's important. Yeah. And now the Lord is the owner of everything. Now we can live in agreement with that principle or against it. So this verse explains what happens when we live in agreement with that principle. That so because if one lives in disagreement with that principle, that is called simple life. That's against the principle that Krishna is the owner. If Krishna is the owner, he's also the enjoyer. You can enjoy what you own. Bhaktaram chakra tapasam sarva lokamashvam duridam sarva bhutanam yatvam mam santin ichati. He's the Bhakta. Bhaktaram. Bhakta Aram is enjoyer of all sacrifices. So living in harmony with the Supreme Lord means we live for his enjoyment. So in a material world, it's something fearful. Even the thought, you become a slave of someone, nothing for yourself, you give everything away. What life is this on a material platform? That must be a sect who believes in these things. But the reality is, if you serve Krishna out of love, you will automatically feel satisfied in the heart. Krishna is in the heart, it gives you satisfaction. And when your heart becomes pure, then you feel bliss, an ecstasy which is not of this world, and you are not interested in anything in this world anymore, anything for this body. But those who perform sinful activities are selfish. Selfishness is against the principle of love. Okay? The purpose of religion is to love God. If you love Krishna, you love everyone. That's the purpose. But real, pure love means I'm doing everything for the beloved without asking something in return. But these sinful people and that is one of the essence of the definition of sin. What is sin? Sin means selfish act, not considering this Isavasya principle. That everything for oneself only. I and mine. That is the problem. And when you act for I and mine, you act in the material atmosphere. There will be material reaction. And what is the reaction of enjoying in this world? That we will learn that in Bhagavad Gita. Yes?
The material body. Material body.
That well, if you do pious activities, you get also a material body. That impious, sinful, or pious, the same. Srila Prabhupada said, if you have some cow dung patty on the road, and the upper side is dry, and and at the bottom it's wet, and there is a discussion: what's better, the wet side or the dry side? Interesting discussion, but it's all about stool. That's what it is. So pious or impious, you will get bodies. But for pious action, enjoyment according to the scriptures, then you get good reactions in this world. But this good is also bad, because you have to accept the material body. That's what you said. But sinful activities, enjoyment around Krishna, without Krishna, 5:22 Bhagavad Gita, Yei samspasya dukhayonya evateatyantvan bekantyanate shuramate buddha. The sages have concluded that if you try to enjoy things in this world, the result will be suffering. You have to pay with suffering. And they say it's not worthwhile, don't do it, because it's just temporary, the result. So that's our lessons we need to learn. That's all. These principles we will hear them in Bhagavad Gita. Yes. Lakshmi. Yeah.
What didn't she want to give up? Why she was not allowed to serve Bhakti? She should give up something, but she didn't give everything.
She did not want to give up her identity as being Lakshmi. That's a problem. That she was already on the spiritual platform, but she wanted to go to a more intense love of Krishna, the love of Goloka Vrindavan. And then you have to give up your identity and become a simple coward girl. She could not do that. That's okay, good. So those who perform sinful activities, so we know now what sinful activities, they the longer they live, the more sinful reactions they get, and the more they will suffer. That if a sinful person lives very long, he creates more and more suffering in his next life. But for a devotee, to live a long life is a blessing. That. So there's no other way to live than this. That. So we have here, we heard the invocation that everything is perfect. It comes from Ishvara. How to live in harmony with that Isavasya principle, or to live in disharmony with that. Yeah, it's a disharmony with its arms. It's a little indirect. But so we must live in harmony with its benefits. That means we must do everything what's favorable for serving Krishna, for serving Ishvara. And we must live in disharmony with what is unfavorable. That's what it means. That, so this is what's in the purport, which we will discuss now. So there's no other way to live. It means there's no other intelligent way to live. If one wants to come down from the 20th floor of a building by jumping out of the window, that is quite dangerous. The intelligent way is to take the stairs or the lift, right? That so if you don't live harmoniously, then there is no other way to live, because there is karmic bondage. That's the problem. That so that's an overview. Prabhupada speaks about how karma bandhana causes death. You will hear that. That's the first point. How karma bandhana causes death. What is karma bandhana? 3.9 Bhagavad Gita. Jaknarta karmanobhatya loko yam karma bandhana. That if one does everything as a sacrifice for Krishna, there is no karmic reaction. We will hear that in the Gita. Arjuna is confused. And he says, should I fight or should I become a beggar? That Krishna tells them in the second chapter to fight and to renounce at the same time. And he's confused. How can I do that at the same time? That so that's Krishna consciousness. Arjuna had to fight at his service for Krishna, and by fighting to please Krishna on his order, he doesn't get any reaction. It's like that is renunciation. it's not doing anything for himself. He's in harmony with the Isavasya principle. Everything belongs to Krishna. And whatever Krishna says, I'm doing out of love for him. So that is, then there is no karma bandhana. If in time of war, you kill the enemy, you get a medal. But in time of peace, don't do it because you will be punished. And that's the same principle. If we act according to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, as mentioned in the book, then we don't get reaction. So, why is there death in this world? Karma Kandana, yes.
Here's a similar point to what we discussed last week in Upanishad. I think it's in purpose. It says that the material, that everything belongs to Krishna, and that's why we should use it in his service.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't understand this kind of reasoning or conclusion. I understand it because we are supposed to serve him, but that's not the argument or the reason for why we should use it in Krishna. The only reason is because it belongs to Krishna, and I cannot understand why this is.
No, that this is a principle of renunciation, but the principle of renunciation is secondary to the first purpose. We live to please Krishna. We are part and parcel of him. And therefore, it's our duty to serve the whole. But and by serving the whole, yes, we are in harmony, and there is no reaction. And that is the principle explained here. That so then we are automatically renounced, because this is based on the realization that everything belongs to Krishna and not to us. The idea that something belongs to us is a mental concoction.
What I still don't understand is the reasoning is that, and it's only the one statement that everything belongs to Krishna, and that's why we should use it in his service, but I cannot understand this reasoning from the beginning statement. I understand it and I accept it because in other statements say we should serve him because we are parts and parcels of him, but that's not given in this kind of reasoning. It's only that belongs to him.
That because everything belongs to him, he's the enjoyer. That if you go to the house of your neighbor and say, I'm going to live here, then that's not going to go well, because it's not your house. That so it's madness that we think this belongs to me. Something is under our care. So-called proprietorship. But a devotee never think it's mine. No, I use it in Krishna's service. That and if you think it's yours, and then you are in trouble. That's what's explained here. Then you get reactions, you get bodies, and death, birth, death, old age, and disease.
But it could, as an argument from somebody else, could be that it is there for our enjoyment. Krishna or the proprietor, whoever it would be, is okay. For example, my neighbor, he's okay with me living in his house. If he has many rooms in the houses.
Yeah, that's our conditioned mentality, that we think, yes, this is for my enjoyment. That's the Christian idea. Not really, but anyway, many believe that God created everything for our enjoyment. And they're themselves in the picture. But Christian theology is different. Adam and Eve, Adam was eating the forbidden fruit. What is the forbidden fruit? Because they were in Eden at an eternal body, and they lost their eternality. Because he was eating the forbidden fruit. The forbidden fruit is against this Isopanisad principle. Then then you get a body and you are in this material world. That's what happened with them. They broke that principle. Anyway, that it's up to you to decide whether you accept that or not. But don't take initiation if you don't accept this thing. That's not good. This is the basis of Krishna consciousness. What we are really doing. That. And there is the practical experience. If you follow this Isopanisad principle, you become happy. And that's otherwise, I could not do that for 35 years. I rejected the whole thing. But it makes me happy. It's an experience that because Krishna is in our heart and he gives this experience. Okay. Yeah, a lot of questions, but we are not going forward. That I want to answer all your questions, but it's a long chapter and we have only 3/4 of an hour. That good. So this is the reason, this breaking of this Isopanisad principle, why there is death, why we get material bodies. We live in disharmony with the absolute truth. And therefore, why is there death? Human life offers liberation. You get liberation if you follow this principle of akarma. Akarma. We will see, we will learn further about akarma. Nobody wants to die, but how does one come out of it? We begin by bringing God into our sense gratification. Learn how to combine God with your sense gratification. That's the first step we will see. Prabhupada speaks about it in the purport, that there are so many isms, altruism, socialism, and so on, capitalism. But bring God into it, and then it becomes karma yoga. We will now explore this principle further. So no one wants to die. So how does karma bandhana cause death? The first principle we must understand is that which pervades all this body. Krishna says in 2:17 Bhagavad Gita, that which pervades the entire body cannot be destroyed. What is it that pervades the entire body? Yes. The soul, not really. The soul is in the heart, 1/10,000 of a point of a hair. Consciousness. Where does Krishna say that in Bhagavad Gita? Do we accept that? 13:34. Yeah. Yata prakasayati kakrisham lokam imam ravi. Satrang satri tatakrisham prakasayati bharata. O son of Bharat, as the sun illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity within the body illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So consciousness comes from the soul. That's the first lesson we must understand. Consciousness is transported from the soul. The soul is in the area of the heart that is kept there by 5 kinds of subtle air. Science has still to discover this air, but yogis, they can control it, expert yogis. The soul is there. It must mean when they transplant the heart and you get another heart, is the soul transplanted? No, it's still there. There's nothing to do with the body. The soul is there. The soul is in the area of the heart, and the source of it is the source of our consciousness. And that consciousness is transported all over the body through the bloodstream. Everywhere there is blood, you can feel. You have in the nails, no blood. You don't have feeling in the nails. No pain when you no feeling in your head, not much hair, but I mean in the hair, that there's no blood. That the consciousness, someone touches my back, I feel, oh, yes, someone touches my back, because there's consciousness. And that consciousness is originally pure. But when we came to this material world, it became contaminated because we violated the Isavasya principle. And how does that come about? We forgot Krishna. Because we forgot Krishna, we forgot God. Then we forgot ourselves, because we are a part of God. We forgot who we are, a servant of God. And then we were thinking, oh, observing all these things in this world, oh, I'm the enjoyer. Things are for my enjoyer. I'm the center of existence. And this becomes mine. One illusion after another. And what is the result? Suffering and death. So these are stages of illusion. The first illusion is you have forgotten who Krishna is. That's called moha. And then you forget who you are. Well, the first is called tamas. And then you forget who you are and you think yourself the enjoyer. That's moha. It's not factual. We are not the enjoyer. That this enjoyment in this world is nonsense. Enjoying a pizza, 5 minutes. And then suffering again. Hunger comes. Hunger, I'm hungry. Means you have pain. That's what it means. Then the pain is gone and I feel good. It's complete illusion. Moha means I'm the enjoyer. And then moha, oh, this is mine for my enjoyment. And if you create this attachment to things which belongs to Krishna, then by that material attachment, you suffer. If you have a car, a brand new car, and someone makes a little scratch in it, and you feel the pain, it's mine. But if it's a car of someone else, I don't care. Because there is attachment. And the greatest danger is attachment is sexual attraction. That takes away all your transcendental intelligence. So, and then one suffers.
Even geduld.
Ja, dank u. And then one suffers. That, and the greatest fear is fear of death. I'm going to die, but we are not dying. The soul is eternal. You don't lose your consciousness. That's. I will go deeper on these points later. I could speak hours on that to clarify this, but we have to go on. So the soul is eternal and the body is temporal. The soul experiences the misery of death. And why? Because of attachment to the body. We are not dying. Like you go to a cinema and on the screen the hero dies and the whole audience is shocked because the audience is emotionally attached to the body and get affected when the hero dies. But the soul cannot suffer. That's the suffering. It's all done by material nature. It's in the mind, but we are not the mind. Very difficult to learn. It's easy to understand. I'm not this body. I'm the consciousness in this body. Then I'm not the mind. It's a big thing. That to understand that really needs advanced spiritual knowledge and realization. But okay, but yes.
How can you realize that you're?
How can you realize that you are not? By purifying your consciousness. The consciousness is polluted by the three modes of nature, and we must purify that. How to purify? We have to purify the subtle body. The subtle body, when you are at time of death, the subtle body under the direction of Krishna in the heart, super soul, brings you to your next destination at the time of death. But if the consciousness of the soul is contaminated still with the desire, with the idea that I'm the enjoyer, everything is for my enjoyer, you go from body to body. And that's the contamination. That contamination is called rajas, is passion. We will learn in Bhagavad Gita that makes you identify with the body. And tamas. Tamas is, anyway, that sinful life that we described. Yes.
Is understanding that we are not the mind the same as not being affected by the desires of the mind, by the demands of the mind? Are these the same thing?
No. The answer on your question is 270. Bhagavad Gita. Poyamana Matsala Pravisham Samudranaka Pavshanti Sarve. That verse says that like all rivers enter into the ocean is not disturbed by the rivers entering into it. So the mind, in the mind, many desires come. But if you think you are the mind, you think these are my desires. A devotee comes to the point of observing the mind, and the desire pops up. He looks at this desire and says, what kind of desire is it? Is that a desire to serve Krishna? Oh, that's a material desire. Krishna says, if I fulfill that desire, I will be suffering. And then he forgets about it. And that desire disappears from the mind. the desires comes from our previous lives. Krishna is in our heart. And we had so many desires in previous lives, and a material desire can never be fulfilled. Impossible. You get never satisfaction. Therefore, these material desires, they remain lingering in the subtle body. That's in the form of samskaras, impressions. They are in the subconsciousness. And Krishna, he knows you have tried to fulfill that desire in previous life. He picks it up from our subconsciousness, brings it pops up into our mind, and Krishna says, try again. And then two possibilities. If you are a conditioned soul, you think it's my desire, you think it's a good idea, and you run after it. But the devotee, by following the four regulative principles and purifying his mind, he becomes the observer of the mind. He doesn't identify with the mind. The mind is an instrument we use. If you think you are the mind, then the mind will use you to drag you down to the animal species. That's then it makes you act as an animal. That eating, sleeping, mating, defending, this is the reality. So we must learn not to identify with the mind. But like I said, this is advanced knowledge and advanced realization. That you start to get control over your mind when you follow the four regulative principles and you chant, and 24 hours a day you engage the mind in devotion service. You engage the mind so that the mind does not engage you. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's... Please?
Observe the mind, because action of power. The action of Paramatma, how can observe the mind, the action of Paramatma?
Action of Paramatma? No, we have to observe the mind. We have to observe the mind, not identify with the mind. But Krishna is in our heart. And Krishna controls, we will learn in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is Mayat Akshana Prakriti. He controls material nature. The soul desires, I move my hand. But you can only move your hand if Krishna says, okay, move your hand. That is the sanctioner of the super soul. Otherwise, it's paralyzed. You cannot. So Krishna also, he makes the mind working. But what's in your mind, we cannot control. Are you sure you want to remember something? You will remember it? No. Krishna says, I'm in your heart. I give you knowledge, remembrance, and so on. So that we have to learn by the study of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is controlling material nature. That this body is a prison and is a punishment. And Krishna will look how we are doing. Do we want to give up that rebellious mentality of thinking the enjoyer and imitating? No, it's Krishna's position. But if we become humble, we take shelter of a spiritual master, submissive, then Krishna is very merciful. He will show you your false ego and give you experience in life. If you want to become a devotee, every time he will purify you. You will get shocking experience sometimes, and it will be nice. You will become purified because you suffer, you'll never suffer again. Anyway, but we said the soul cannot suffer. So to the extent we want to enjoy in this material world, we become bound by the material energy. So material life is a horror movie. Ultimately, it ends in death. So Krishna consciousness is on the material platform the most pessimistic philosophy. But on the spiritual platform is the most optimistic, because we are not a body, we are eternal, we don't die. So material life is like a horror movie. Ultimate end is death. The soul suffers the pain of immortality because it is bound by the desire to enjoy karma bandhana. Human life offers liberation through akarmana. In the human life, we can perceive the spiritual behind the material. So now you have three kinds of karma: karma, vikarma, and akarma. So we have to be a little careful here, because karma can mean many things. Sometimes we say, oh, it's my karma, Prabhu. So what can I do? I have to suffer. It's my karma. So that's a general term of reactions from previous lives. So any kind of reaction we can say it's karma. Good karma, bad karma, it doesn't matter. It's all karma. That's one meaning, but if we say, oh Prabhu, it's my karma, we are not really referring to karma, but karma means work. But it refers to the reactions of our work, not the karma. Also, the cycles of action and reaction is called karma. That's another meaning. And the fourth meaning, which we have here, karma, we can say it's also called sukarma, so-called pious karma, good karma. This karma is if one does one's prescribed duties are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, in the Vedas. They are coming from Krishna. If one does one's prescribed duties according to one's psychophysical nature, right? Then there will be no reactions to one's actions. Then there will be there will be good reactions. It's not that there will be no reactions. There will be only no reactions if we do it for Krishna. Then it becomes akarma. But if we just do our prescribed duties that mentioned in the revealed scriptures, that's called sukarma or good karma. You are acting morally according to the Manu Samhita, but God is not involved. Krishna is not involved. So if Krishna is not involved, you get karma. From the moment Krishna is involved, you can become free from karma. Only Krishna can make you free from karma. Nobody else. Krishna in the heart, he can do that. But by the mercy of the spiritual master, if we follow his instructions, we will learn that from 434 till 438. This system is described by following the instructions of the spiritual master, how Krishna removes your karma. Because the spiritual master is a representative of Krishna, that we will see later. So that's good karma, sukarma, For sukarma, you will get also reactions. Yeah. And what is the reaction of sukarma? Bodily happiness. Is that good? No, because you have to take birth again and die. Is it pleasant to take birth and die? No. Again, going to the school, starting everything again. So the opposite is vikarma, is sinful activities that we discussed already, what sinful activities are. And that's bad karma. It's mainly sinful activities are against the scriptures. The scriptures say there are 4 principles of religion. It's satya, truthfulness, satyam, cleanliness, and daya, compassion, and tapa, austerity. If you act against these, it's simple. So what's against tapas? Drinking alcohol, tea, coffee, drugs, and so on. What's against doya? Mercy. Eating animal flesh and so on. Killing animals is not merciful. And it pollutes your consciousness. So akarma does not mean that there is no action. There is action, but just to please Krishna. And therefore there is no reaction. So action which we find one from birth and death, if we act for the pleasure of Krishna, then there is no reaction. When the patient cooperates with the doctor, then the patient's recovery is smoother, more easy. That akarma is that we understand that we are in the cinema hall and we see this film. We know this is illusion. We have no emotional involvement with the film. So our mind is like a film that goes, and Krishna gives us the film that you wanted to enjoy. This is go to the film. But if you become attached to the film, you enjoy. You suffer. Yes.
Actually, a small question, what gives you, because actually we devotees also know this, what you explained a little bit, but by part that we become a little bit, how to say, a little bit so-called bitter on these stance inputs, what we get, that we are not attracted of the mind, or that we are like neutral to it. But again, on the other side, we have to learn to have feelings for Krishna. The other part is actually somehow we have to somehow retrain this, that we, I mean, it's on the other part in spirit of form, but to be detached from material form and again then attached on the spirit,
Yeah.
to emotions and different things, but we have to learn to have the distance of this and the material platform. And then,
The point of developing feelings for Krishna, you can develop that. Spiritual feelings will develop after your heart is purified. If your heart is not purified, you get a shadow feeling of it. But it takes usually 30, 35 years to 40 years to purify your heart, and then these feelings comes spontaneously. Before, we feel already satisfaction in serving Krishna by engaging the mind engaging our emotions in Krishna's service. So the mind should be engaged. Mind means emotions. So many emotions you can develop in deity worship and so on. So many of emotions. What is this darshan of Nrsimhadev here? It's 7:15. It's quite impressive, the emotions that come up when it's emotions of power. It's and the mind likes it. Yeah, but that's engaging our emotions in Krishna's service. So the point is we must learn to engage all our capabilities in Krishna's service. Anyway, karma, vikarma, akarma. We will develop that further in Bhagavad Gita in 4:17, 4:18. We will discuss that in detail. So that comes later. That we cannot. Now, spiritualize all ism. That's an interesting point that Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport. So sense gratification plus God is karma kanda. That develops sukarma, good karma in next life. And many are attached to it. Followers of Lord Shiva, they want sense gratification, they want good karma. And they don't enter Vishnu temples. They don't want to see Krishna in the temple. Because if they see Krishna, they are afraid that Krishna will take away my bad karma, but also my good karma, and they don't want to get rid of the good karma. That altruism plus God is spiritual altruism. I give only a few points here because I have a lot of notes, but we cannot go through all of it. Srila Prabhupada would use, and that is here, you are not a body. That's the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. And all but the body, the mind, we have to learn to tolerate it. That's the first lesson. But don't massage or pinch the false ego. Put it onward spiritually. So I give an example of that. Srila Prabhupada was speaking to the Indians. They all think they are Indians. They are born Indians. They are proud of being Indian. Prabhupada is preaching to them. Bhagavad Gita is your own heritage. So why don't you share Krishna consciousness with the world? Teach it. So Srila Prabhupada encouraged the Indians based on their ethnic identities, their false ego. You are Indian, so you should preach Krishna consciousness. That, yes. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada to bodybuilders. In society, kshatriyas are needed. Good, he said, we need kshatriyas. So your ideal is Hanuman, he said. Hanuman is always chanting the names of Ram. So during your exercises, chant the name of Ram. So Srila Prabhupada encouraged people to use their bodily identification to practice Dharma. So we don't have to be dismissive about material engagement if they can be spiritualized. So we must spiritualize our activities. But so yes, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one who lives only for the pleasure of the senses, he lives in vain, not for nothing. So without God, everything is in vain, Srila Prabhupada said. With God we flourish, without God we perish. With God, whatever we do will stay for a long time. Krishna described on this path there is no loss or diminution, 240. Actually, speaking in spiritual life, whatever we do, we can have eternal benefit. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, a humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. A person may not be famous or rich, but a person devoted to God will reach the ultimate destination. If God is not there, then whatever we do is not good enough to get out of karmic bondage. Without God, I stay in the material realm. And that's mentioned in the second canto of the Bhagavad Gita, that a tree lives for hundreds of years. Srila Prabhupada, there is no point to live a long life. What makes a life valuable is not the length, but its contents. Importance is how a person lives. Those who are not making spiritual advancement live a life of cats and dogs. Living like a tree or animal is not glorious. Then we deprive ourselves from life's higher potential. Last week I was in Sofia and we made a walk in the forest, in the mountains. And we came at a tree 800 years old. Something like that. So even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. So at the end of the 6th chapter, the last verses of the Gita we will discuss together at the end of next week. Krishna will confirm that if we are serious in our devotional service, even if we don't make it, we are born in a family of devotees. And you get straight again into the Gurukul, that educated in Krishna consciousness. And soon you come very, very much advanced to the point you are left up in this life. So one takes birth in a devotee family and makes further advancement. Add God to your life. If you do not, then your life is wasted. Even if you apply God consciousness only partially in your life. So the human form and opportunities for further advancement are guaranteed. So if we don't get perfection in this life, this is the consolation prize you get. You get again a human form of life, and you will learn in Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, where Krishna speaks about 4 kinds of people who do not surrender to him. You have the Naradam. Naradam is people are socially and politically developed, but no God consciousness, no interest in. They do go to church or mosque for the show, but and these Naradams are 99.99% of the population for the concept. And Naradams are always all on the way to animal life. Can you imagine? What are fortunate that we are, even if we are not making, we continue just our path to go back to Godhead in the next life. But of course, we should make it in one life. We'll speak later about that. Don't take many lives. Be very serious. Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj said, make sure you make it in this life. And how that's interesting, how to execute that all these God-centered activities which are described here, how to do that in practice. Srila Prabhupada writes, how one can execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar der Hingava, Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Isopanisad. That's our manual, how to do it. So that, because this is philosophy, the practice is more popular amongst devotees than this philosophy, but we need also to have the deeper understanding that. So it's your in your karma, in your work, Prabhupada said, bring yoga. Yoga means bring God into it. Once people get into it, then they are ready to get a more complete understanding of Bhakti. It's a gradual process. People who are attached to material life, then he encouraged them to bring God into their life. And that's the first stage, bring God in your life, and then later they can study Nectar of Devotion. So Srila Prabhupada's purpose is a masterpiece here in this mantra. It's a masterpiece of gradually elevating people. One thing I want to say on Isopanisad, when did Srila Prabhupada write this book? It was even in the 1940s, he was publishing, started with his Back to Godhead. And he was preaching, he was writing all these commentaries on this mantra as an article that was heavily published in different issues. Because many people in India at that time and now were impersonalists. And of course, the Upanishads are mostly describing the impersonal creation of the Lord, but not the Isopanisad. And he wanted them to bring them to the personal conception of God. And therefore, he published it. And that is Isopanisad. It was published in the magazine. And in front, you have that lecture he gave in London. And that's the book. That's how it came about. That's the history of how Prabhupada wrote Sri Isopanisad. Originally, that were a series of articles in Bhakti Godhead in the 1940s. Yes. So Srila Prabhupada is demonstrating a progression in Vedic literature. First, a person wants to enjoy material life, karma kanda. But then later, they come to the point of bringing God in their life. And then the next stage is, then lead the person to the books where it is explained that God is meant to be a facilitator of material life, but the goal is loving God himself. So we have to be careful with preaching. People want to enjoy. And we tell them, come, enjoy. We have nice vegetarian food and the chanting, dancing, it's happy. So please come. And then they, at the same time, they hear a lecture and God comes into their lives. So we don't preach them from the beginning that all these pessimistic views. No, we give them the good news, The bad news comes later. The first time Prabhupada initiated the devotees in 22nd Avenue, after the initiation, the devotees came to Prabhupada about what's now our duty. And then on their request only, he told them about the 4 regulative principles after initiation. Interesting, because Prabhupada was afraid because Bon Maharaj had gone to London in 1934. And we know the story that he was preaching to Lord Zetland, who had been a governor in Bengal for 2 years. So he knew the devotees. And he said to Bon Maharaj, can you make me a Brahmin? And Bon Maharaj said to Lord Zetland, no problem, you follow this 4 regulative principle. And Lord Zetland said, impossible. That is my life. How can I give it up? That so Prabhupada was thinking, I'm going to America. If he speaks first about these four religious principles, they will say, "Thank you, Swami. Bye bye." That so it was very gradually with it. So we have. That's the goal of Dharma, to bring us factually to spiritual life. I didn't tell her everything, but the essence is there. We have 5 minutes for questions. Yes.
I have one question regarding the term Ishavasya, the mantra one. It is word by word translated by the Lord controlled. Because it's a question what has the term right now by the Lord controlled, or as you said, the Lord is a proprietor of everything. What is the correct translation of Ishavasya?
Isavasya. Here it is mentioned, everything is controlled by the Lord. But it means everything is controlled and owned by the Lord. It controls, because everything comes from Krishna. He is the complete whole from which all the complete wholes emanate. It comes from him. It's owned and controlled by the Lord. That is explained in the first, in invocation. So we can't see that separated from the invocation. It's a sequence. Okay, good. Yes, okay. Yeah, speak a little louder, because I've practiced no hearing at that side. This is reasonable. But
Yeah. So about the water and one has to work, like
yeah.
Or like, how do we know that we don't become lazy? Like, so we need to endeavor on.
I don't know in what context you are saying this. Yeah.
So the first mantra I was talking about the quota everyone has for life. And she's asking the question that regarding to that, how do we know that we don't become lazy? Because we're thinking, oh, I don't want to over endeavor.
Okay, yeah. No, I get the point. Yeah. That so yes, it's like you get your karma and you get a certain job and an income, and what is said here, we should feel satisfied. What is easily attributed to us. You can feel unsatisfied and say, still I want to become rich. So I take a second job at night and I work at night. 2 jobs during the day and at night. And you will get more income, but you will lose all your time to all these things. So it's not intelligent to be active in that way, that one can say then one is lazy. Yeah, laziness may be on the material platform, but not on the spiritual platform. That we should use what's easily accorded to us, feel satisfied with it, and not focus on that, but on our spiritual life, all our spiritual practices. And that should be our focus. That if you endeavor for more, that well, you learned that already, that in Nectar of Instruction, Atyara Prapayasya Prajalpa Niyamaga, over endeavor for more. Prayas, over endeavoring for more than you need. That I give an example. You have an income of 2,000 euro a month, and you buy a house with a mortgage of 1,600 euro a month. Is that a good idea? No. You will become a slave of working, and your spiritual life there goes. So we should focus on our spiritual life, and in our spiritual life we can be very active, and we can try to expand it to the max. That become sannyas and preach all over the world. That is surrendering. That is the opposite of laziness. Trying your best to do everything for Krishna. Sannyas means in the heart, I do everything for Krishna. And everyone has to come to that point. That So spiritually, we become very active, materially very lazy. That's the message. That helps.
Because I was thinking that in the material world, there is permanent life in the
Yeah, that's very intelligent. Why do I never at all? So yes, that was my conclusion 30 years ago when I joined this movement. It's all nonsense. Good, thank you. I think we are at the end. Thank you. I see you at 11. Jai Prabhupada.